Best shoulder accessory for longevity and strength. I'm never gonna say best. I think the wider range of movements you can do, the better. I think there's some good ones. How do I want to talk about this? Something I've done over the past few years that I think may have hurt me was not enough overhead stuff. There was a big trend in the industry maybe 15 years ago or so to kind of not overhead press because it was bad for shoulders. Was overhead stuff, and like straight bar military press, overhead press kills my shoulders. It feels terrible just with even an empty bar. What I found over the past year or so, there's some different variations I can do that I think are helping. Anything where I have the weight kind of sitting behind my hand, like a kettlebell where you let the kettlebell kind of come over the side of your hand, or I use that strap. For whatever reason, kind of puts my shoulders in a better position where it doesn't hurt so much. I've actually been able to do some Bradford Press light for higher reps lately. That seems to be helping. So I think the biggest thing is don't get too married to one exercise or a couple of exercises. Try to do everything. Things that have worked in the past, chest supported Y and T raise for high reps. We did a phase one summer where we did ultra high reps, like we would get up to like 4 sets of 60. I think that helped everybody's shoulders. I think Y and T raises are kind of left out a little bit for power lifters. Steal some stuff from overhead athletes would be a good idea, I would think. So to say the best, stay away from shit that hurts. But that being said, sometimes stuff hurts because you're weak there. Like for me, like barbell overhead press probably hurt because I was weak. So if I think if I had found some variations that didn't bother my shoulders so much, that probably would have been a good idea. Probably helped me out a little bit. So variety is the spice of your shoulder's health. Best wings in Buffalo, Lenovo extra crispy from the pit. Done deal. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm not sure what's going on with the picture right now. I think I flipped it. How do I flip that back? What in the fuck? Oh, there we go. Hey, all right. Somebody asked, how did I become the GOAT? The only fucking thing about me that closely resembles a GOAT is my white beard, and that's it. Recommended good morning frequency and variations. For me personally, I like to do a good morning variation about every other week, but I don't like to do it as my max effort. I would rather do it as my secondary barbell movement after my max effort. For me personally, doing 1 rep max, good morning work, never really seemed to help my squat and deadlift that much. It just didn't. Now, when my squat was its strongest and my good morning was its strongest, I would do a max effort, usually a max effort squat, and then we were doing like a good morning variation for our second barbell movement. So about every other week, and then the weeks that you don't do the good morning variation, I like a deadlift variation for reps. after your max efforts, your second barbell movement. So whether it's pin pull or an RDL variation or something like that, kind of rotate those in every other week would probably seems to work the best for me personally and a lot of people I work with. What happened with the hammy? If you saw my story the other day, you heard my hamstring rip. I tore the hamstring last summer. Last summer doing speed pulls. I was gonna try and do a meet. My hips were all off and felt shitty, and I knew I shouldn't be doing conventional stance speed pulls against bands, and I did it anyways. And on about my sixth set, I heard the old, what's the packaging? Packaging bubble pops in my hamstring. Kind of sounded like a machine gun. Ever since, that hamstring has been giving me issues. It's the inner adductor. It's the hamstring, but it's like in the same area as the adductor. For the past year, for the most part, when I try to push hard on a squat and push fast, it kind of feels like it wants to cramp or grab on. A couple weeks ago, I was doing those Messier lunges, that side-to-side lunge thing, and I got kind of overstretched it a little bit. Got that, didn't tear, but if you guys have done this before, you'll know, you'll get that sensation where the muscle almost feels like two really dry rubber bands, like scraping against each other, and kind of a stretching sensation, and then you get kind of sore after. So I got that doing those a couple weeks ago. I did some self scraping and cupping and stuff, and I thought it was better. And then I was doing that hip Thompson hips the other day over the weekend, and we got a little pop in there. So just something that's been lingering around and kind of gave way. There's no it's not bleeding out real bad or anything, so I don't think it's terrible, but I need to get it taken care of. Before I start pushing some weights again. I haven't had a bar in my back in a couple months, so I need to get it taken care of. Today I went and got tissue work done and cupping and scraping, and went and saw Childress. So we're and my chiropractor Minoki. We're gonna get it taken care of. I'm fucking fragile is what it comes down to. It's fucking ridiculous. Am I writing another ebook for Elite FTS? I have a big project with this whole thing, kind of I've been driving for 8 hours. Sorry. I have a big project I would like to finish, kind of to piggyback, that's the word, piggyback off of my other book. But I've just been so busy, I'm having a hard time getting to it. I think it's a book and then some. So yeah, I want to get it done. I need to make myself do it, even if it's a half hour here or there. That's the problem. I need to when I have a few minutes, sit down and kind of knock some stuff out. But yeah, keep an eye out. It's going to be geared towards the high school audience and physical educators. So we're going to try to fix a lot of the training problems we see at an early age. So that's all I'm going to say, because it's top secret. But yes. I got to stop wearing. I need to wear like an all black shirt, so I'm having a hard time seeing you guys' questions. If you have knee cave problem when squatting, could that be weak medial quads or stance setup? If you have a knee cave problem, it's typically a lot of times just a technique issue. Now that being said, as you load weight on, you're going to expose weaknesses. Typically, if your knees are caving, your feet could be too wide. So you mentioned stance setup. You know, a lot of people see Chuck Vogopol squat and think they can go way out wide on their feet. Most people aren't Chuck Vogopol. You got to have massively strong hips to do that, and most people don't. So you may need to bring your feet in a little bit. If your stance looks okay and your technique's okay, then I would start looking at weaknesses. It's probably going to be a glute or hip weakness, so you need to bring your hips up. The hips externally rotate the knee, so for some, you know, if those first two things are taken care of, I would strengthen your hips, but that's hard to say without seeing a video or anything too. Top 5 tricep builders. Ooh, I'm gonna say, so when my bench is at its best, I'm doing board work for reps after my speed bench with a relatively close grip. Sets of 3 to 5. What else hits the tries? Yoke bar JM press is a really good one. Dumbbell JM press, like the darts, kind of dumbbell rollbacks is a good one. They can beat your elbows up a lot. Trying to think of something different that I've kind of been doing lately that's been hitting the triceps good. Extra tricep sets. A lot of people don't do that. I think just, you know, on your off days, hitting some high rep banded triceps is a good idea. Something that probably a lot of people aren't doing 2-3 times a week. That's 4. I don't know. So I've been doing those single arm barbell JM press in my garage. Those are pretty tough. I like those. Those will probably stay in the rotation. You know, I don't have a lot of stuff at home right now, and I've been doing those, and those have been lighting my triceps up pretty good. So those will probably stick around. So a lot of times it's just something you haven't been doing. You know what I mean? Just trying different things, and then once in a while you'll hit a certain thing, and it'll give you kind of a boost. So a lot of times just trying different things. Starbucks. Programming submax deads after max effort or dynamic squats. How would you do it? I would do it. We could rip. Okay. So technically, a submax dead could be a speed deadlift. So we pretty much do those on a weekly basis, right? If we're doing them after our speed work, it's going to be usually doubles, maybe triples, maybe singles for speed. And then on your max effort days, I would maybe go every other week, maybe every third week, some sort of a deadlift variation, 4 reps, sub-max weight after max effort squat movement. If that makes sense. So you're not doing them every week, but you are doing speed pulls probably 80% of the time, 70 to 80% of the time. And then on your max effort days, maybe every other week, maybe every third week. But you pick a variation. I wouldn't do a competition. I should say this. I shouldn't say I wouldn't do it. In the past, I haven't done a competition style sub-max deadlift. Not to say they're bad, because there's a lot of strong guys out there that do them and do very well doing that. For me personally, I would rather do variations. Doing the actual competition lift for me just seems to beat me up, and so if I was going to do that, I would probably underestimate my percentages a little bit. So you're leaving a little bit of gas in the tank. Don't crush yourself with them. Save your max effort for the actual max effort movement. How long do I write out a program before repeating workouts or write a new program? I don't write anything out for myself. Good question. So let's say for most of the athletes I work with, like sport athletes, non-strength athletes, will typically stay on a max effort movement for 2 weeks. Their first week will be sub-maximal, probably hit doubles or triples to kind of feel the movement out. And then the second week, we'll let them go up to an actual max. Those are kind of the intermediate groups. If, like, for example, my throwers, they were pretty advanced, so we would switch it up every week. On the dynamic effort work, I like to switch that up to match the max effort movement for that week. So I don't think you need to do 3-week waves. What I will do on the speed work is wave the volume. So we'll go 10 sets, 8 sets, 6 sets typically, to kind of start them up high volume and drop them down. Helps them adapt. We can raise the weights up a little bit. And then the accessory work, stick with it for 3 weeks and then switch it. Over the course of that 3 weeks, we're going to ramp up the volume on the accessory work. So you get a new program. Week 1 is low volume. Week 2 is moderate. Week 3, fucking go to town. And then when you start that over, when you get new exercises on the next week 1, it's going to be 3 sets and then crank the volume up. So you're constantly waving the volume. I kind of think of that like interval training. You run intervals, you can get in better shape than just going out and run long distance all the time. Kind of get the same effect with the accessory stuff. You can build a really high work capacity without beating the shit out of the kids or your athletes. So really kind of depends what athletes you're talking about. For most of my clients, we typically go week to week, but they'll follow the same guidelines that I kind of just talked about. Hurt my low back deadlifting, protocols on how to get strength back. Fix the problem first before you start loading. I'm not saying do nothing, but don't, if 65% of your, let's just say deadlift for a bad example, makes your back not feel good while you're doing it, don't do that movement. Stay away from things that irritate the injury. And in the meantime, soft tissue work, chiropractic, get with a professional, a good physical therapist, get it taken care of before you start pushing again. That's not to say you can't train. There's a ton of things you can do to work around the injury. Maybe get some imaging, actually see what the actual injury is, so that can help guide your rehab. To lay out a whole protocol without knowing exactly what's going on is too much. But just stay away from things that piss your low back off. And you're not. People get tweaks and injuries, and they kind of get in a panic, like they're going to lose all their progress. If you just continue to do some work in the supporting muscle groups, you're going to be closer to your previous levels than you actually think, especially if you've been training for a while. All right, so get it taken care of. Don't freak out. Do movements that don't bother it. Best movements for hip mobility. It really depends. It's hard to say how immobile are the hips actually. I'm a big fan of body tempering, down the IT bands or kind of lateral hamstring, adductors, get in the glutes with a lacrosse ball on the wall, and then the old Dick Hartzell banded hip mobility stuff. If you go YouTube that, it's older stuff, but it's really good, really quick, really efficient, works really well. I'm a big fan of those things. So, and a lot of times mobility issues are a weakness issue. the tissue is not strong enough to hold on to or support the joint in whatever range of motion you're trying to do. So all it knows to do to survive is grab on real tight. Okay, so sometimes building mobility through strength is a good idea, but like I said, I don't know the exact situation. S&C for bobsled athletes. Increase your power output. Get stronger. Basically like a sprinter. Work a little bit of mobility. Bring your hips up, bring your core up. Would I recommend doing winning warm-ups on max effort day? Yep. I'm a big fan of what Matt does with his warm-ups. I think it's a great idea. This is kind of the topic of my next article. I'm going to do an article on kind of some bench hacks, things that I've done over the years that have helped my bench and my athletes, and that's one of the things. I originally, Louis talked about doing extra bench work, like 4 days a week or whatever. We did that and it worked, and then later I heard Matt talk about his warm-ups, and we put it into place for our warm-ups, and I think it works really well. I'm a big fan of that. Sets and reps for speed squats. I've seen anywhere from 5x5 to 12x2. Yep. They'll work. They all work. Kind of depends what your training goal is. What population you're working with. What are you training for? Typically, I like to run the sets of 5 in the off season, and then as you're getting closer to your peaking phase or your important time of year, start hitting the doubles a little more often. But Donnie and his program does sets of 3. So same thing. It's it's where you're at in your training and what's your objective. Off season, I need to get in a little bit more shape, build some work capacity. The sets of 5 are good. As I get closer to a powerlifting meet, I may not need that. Okay, the doubles may serve me better. The triples may serve me better. I don't think it's as long as you have good justification for what you're doing and can make sense of it, do it. Okay, there's no one's figured this out yet. There's a lot of guidelines and a lot of people that have made a lot of progress. For example, sets of 5 you may think are better for an offensive lineman because the time it takes to do 5 reps more closely matches a play. Okay, so the 5s may be better for that athlete as they're getting closer to camp. So you may start them off doing 2s in the off season and then work closer to more specific as you go along. So it really depends on the athlete, kind of the time specificity of what you're looking to do. Okay, so they'll all work. It's just kind of how you're structuring, who you're working with, and what your priorities are at the time. 5s at 60%. How awesome was my trip to TPS? Pretty awesome. Murph and his guys up there, it was fun. I got to, he had me sign the monolift and stuff, and, I'm in pretty good company. I got to sign the monolift. I'm in, what do they call that, rare company, whatever. Like, that was pretty cool. Murph's a good dude. Everybody up there was cool, man. 5s at 60%. Who cares? Don't worry. Don't get too caught up in percentages. That's what I like about Donnie's squat cycle. He did max effort day, and then his speed day was just half of what he did on max effort day. So let's say I did 6 plates on max effort day. I'm gonna do 3 plates on speed day. I don't think percentages on speed day are terribly, terribly important, especially if you're in the off season and just general training. If you're working with like sporting athletes, I think as you get closer to peaking and trying to be more specific in the strength traits you're going after, I think it makes more of a difference. But just for lifting, it's not a big deal. So for example, like if I go to a meet, let's say I squat somewhere between 900 and 1,000. For me personally, I know if I'm using 50%, that would be 4.5 to 5 plates on my speed work. I know if I do that all year long, I'm going to kick the shit out of myself, and I'm done. My back's not going to be able to take it. It won't happen. So just, find a weight that works. And I think using a percentage off of a training weight is a little better in the long run than going off of your competition max, because you're not always at competition strength, right? If that makes sense. So don't get too caught up in percentages. Wave it. I think if you're going to run like 3-week waves, if you go like 10 sets, 8 sets, 6 sets, start at 50, 55%, 60%. So kind of wave it like that. So as your volume come down, your weight goes up a little bit, and that'll help you adapt a little better that way. Okay, but don't get too caught up in the percents. So if you're looking for a starting point, start at 40 on week 1 and see how it goes. If it was super easy, bump it up a little bit. You know what I mean? So just start a little low and kind of see, go by feel. That way you can kind of gauge it that way. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Anybody else got any questions? All the tunes are from my Spotify Nate Harvey 2600 playlist. How to network right now? Dude, if you got a podcast, or like not everybody, a lot of people are stuck at home, not working and stuff. Hit people up for a phone call. Yeah, just let them know I'm not sure your situation, but hit people up. A lot of strength coaches are not at work in the weight room right now. Everybody's on these Zoom calls and shit. If you got a podcast, or I don't know what you're doing exactly, just hit people up. A lot of people are willing to talk and kind of help other people out, as long as you're looking to learn something. I think most people are pretty cool with that right now. All right, I got like I said, 797 freaking emails to get through. So thanks for the questions. Maybe we'll do another one tomorrow night. I don't know. I'm down here coaching a little bit in Waverly, Ohio, so I got a lot of emails tomorrow, but whatever. Thanks for the questions. Talk to you guys later.